Welcome to the We Forge On podcast, the show dedicated to men and the silent struggles we face day to day. From tips to deep conversations, we strive to give you a voice in a world that wants to keep you silent. I'm your host, Soaring, and today I'm joined by a new member of the ever-growing family, CosmicMortar. He is a YouTuber, PC builder, friend, and star seeker. So today's episode will cover a variety of topics, but first, let's cut to the intro. Welcome back. So, before we get started, Cosmic, tell us a little bit about yourself and the community that you're building.
Hello. How's it going, Soren? Hope you're doing all right, man. It's good to finally get to chat and hang out with you. Finally catch up. I know we talked about it a time or two a while back, so it's good to see you.
Yep.
By the way, do you want my actual name? I don't know if I can give that.
That's up to you. It don't matter.
Okay. If you want my first name is actually Jonathan. Not a lot of people know that, but I'll, Yeah. I'm 33. I work in IT. I do cybersecurity, help desk. I work servers. I work with people, medical IT. I like to help people, and being administrator of a small hospital and a few mini clinics attached to it, and getting to help and run the staff and all that kind of stuff, and make sure everyone's stuff is working and the doctors can access patients' files and make sure they get the care they need in a timely manner. I have a hand in that, so it's very important to me. So making sure that trying to do something good in the world is a thing for me right now. And yeah, other than that, just trying to make some fresh content on YouTube, just released a couple of videos, and yeah, trying to be out here and be a voice for people who, maybe, are talking about some stuff, and because there's some crazy things going on, and yeah,
There's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of uncertainty that's also been happening. So the first thing I want to talk about is kind of get your thoughts on the whole Silicon Valley Bank crashing. Your thoughts on that. I do have a couple stats. I don't know. It just blows my mind that it feels very much like 2008 all over again, where it feels like these quote unquote too big to fail companies or banks, right, they're failing, and then they receive a bailout while people living paycheck to paycheck are told to work harder and stop being lazy.
Yeah, and there are so many things attached to that are just completely wrong. Just like partially unrelated, just a side note, I forget what state it was. Other day they actually repealed a child law act about children working. So now any children 12 to 16 can now work, and they can also work overnight for 12-hour shifts. Sorry, we'll slide. Anyway,
that opens up a whole new can of worms, because
it's okay. We're gonna focus on this. We're gonna focus on this because this is where this is up here. Everyone needs to look up a little bit too, so it's okay.
So I don't know all of the specifics that goes into this, and there's people way smarter than me that have already covered the topic, whether it be Philip DeFranco, CoffeeZilla. They've covered the topic in great detail and can explain the situation much better than I can. But the thing about it is these companies are receiving bailouts while people living paycheck to paycheck are kind of just told to suck it up, buttercup. And I looked up a stat: 64% of U.S. consumers, which is about 166 million people, are living paycheck to paycheck as of December 2022. That is ridiculous.
That is not surprising, as in the since right before COVID, everything has skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And up until the recent year, you've noticed everything. GPUs have been cut 46%. This has been cut 50%. It's because at those times, everybody was at home. Tech was what people needed.
Yeah.
To have to be able to continue their life. Everybody needed it.
Yeah, you could not find a Nintendo Switch.
All of a sudden there was the dam broke, and there was a demand for it. So everyone bought in. Ergo, they did all this building, they made all this money, they did all this hiring, they did all this expanding, and they've just peaked and peaked and peaked. So over the last, say, couple years, like SVB and these other banks, with inflation, everybody's assets are inflated. Their price is way overmarked, just like houses, way overmarked, way overpriced. Any market you look in, way overmarked. It's worth this much money. Oh, it's worth so much money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, problem with SVB banks, which is just like everything else, and I'll get the whole thing. So SVB Bank put their money in assets, in stocks and bonds that have a 10-year maturity point,
Yep.
which means they have to reach maturity and they will make a huge gain on that. But that also depends on a crisis not happening because they don't keep $140 billion cash on hand.
No.
So when they have most of their money invested in stocks and bonds that are only 5 to 7 years into maturity, and they have all these people coming in saying, we want our money, we want our money, we want our money, they now have to start selling those assets at a loss.
Yeah.
And then they have to also pay the depositors.
Yeah. So it went from a liquidity problem to a insolvency problem.
Correct. But the issue is not just there. So your paper money was given to you once upon a time back in the 70s. You used to be able to trade your gold for dollars, and Nixon cut that off. And it's because they started during the war, they started saying, people, take your gold to the bank, take your gold to the bank. And they started giving out paper money in lieu of it, saying, oh, this paper money is good for it, come back for it anytime. Ergo, that got taken by, one privateer. Then it got moved to the Federal Reserve. And so the Federal Reserve was housing all these gold for all these places and giving out notes and saying, okay, you have this money. It's good because you have this amount of gold in the bank. And so you can start accruing huge amounts of debt because the debt is all false because, oh, we have all this gold in the bank. We have all this going on, but we can easily pay for this if we really wanted to slide it out of the way. So all these like debt games, all these countries play are all false because everything is supposed to be backed by gold. But a lot of countries have liquidated a lot of that gold during war and stuff like that, and Nixon cut that off. And so that's why even late, I think 69 was the last year that people were taught about gold. Do you remember getting a class on it?
I think we talked briefly in American history.
See, but right. See, you didn't learn much about gold or what the cost is per troy ounce or why the cost of gold goes up when inflation is happening and everything is going down, or why when everything is going good does gold go down and the market goes up.
Well,
it's because gold is a tier 1 asset. When paper money turns to nothing, I can walk up with a gold bar, snip you off a piece of it, weigh it out, and pay you for what I want and walk away. And that's happened during the Great Depression. It was those kinds of times where people fell back on stuff like that. But all this money in all these banks, they have these assets, but all these banks can't pay for all of the loans and stuff that they have out there. They're insolvent in themselves. And if the Treasury continues to pay out, they don't have all the gold to back all of this.
Yeah.
So right now, the banking system is technically insolvent. But it seems like, as I saw today, stocks were actually rebounding, and I think the Dow was up 306 points, I think. And it looks like there may not be a money run. It looks like it might not turn into another 2008.
Well, there was still a money run for those particular banks.
For those banks, yes. I mean more of a like massive. Everyone goes to all banks and says, "Give me all my money."
But I think it was
like
more
2008 style.
I think it was more because on Sunday, didn't the Treasury Department say we're going to take care of those depositors? Like things are okay. Keep your money where it is. Everything's going to be fine.
Stepped in and purchased the UK section of SVB at the last minute and saved those depositors. The rest of them, I'm not sure. Companies like Roku had like 25% of their money in that bank. That's a lot.
Don't you know
when you're like working and you have fees and cash and rent and like payroll and all that stuff, like 25% of your fees cut off, like that's a lot. That's just one company.
Well, it just goes to show you, do not put all your eggs in one basket.
True.
Also, if you're going to have an excess, let's see, the FDIC covers, is it
250K.
Yeah. So don't
And the
have.
reason they only covered that is because during the Trump regulation, all of those, all the banking system was told you can relax your regulations. You don't have to insure all depositors' money.
That opens a whole nother can of worms.
That's actually confirmed in a lot of places. I'm not making that up. I'm not.
Oh, I know,
anti
I know.
anybody. I'm strictly facts. I'm just making sure that's clear. I just
CoffeeZilla.
no negativity, nothing like that.
Yeah, no, CoffeeZilla confirmed that. I watched his video today about it. He talked briefly about the Trump administration and the laxing of the regulations in different sectors.
They did relax that, and even in the train section. But again, that's separate. So it's.
But just goes to show you, don't put your eggs in one basket. And if you have an excess of 250K, put it in a separate account. Separate it out. That way your shit's covered.
And see, like some of them, like with the loans and stuff like that too. Like it's really nutty right now because even if the Fed fixes this somehow, like they've been prolonging this for so long. And that's why everyone thinks it's even larger now than before. But even if everything rebounds, here's your main problem that I've been thinking on, and then we can move on. Yeah, I don't know how you. We'll move on and keep it short. So, Saudi Arabia and Iran just mended the fence. Foreign affairs are getting good. That's excellent. There's a caveat to that. The U.S. has stood behind Saudi Arabia and said, we will back you militarily, we'll give you what you need, we will be there to protect you, we'll be an ally. And in return, the main thing that they asked for, and this is your caveat, in OPEC, the company that deals in oil and how everything is regulated, they asked that oil be dealt in dollars. That is significant for one specific reason, because that means in order to deal in oil, everybody, every country, even though they have their own currency, must also have dollars. Our currency is everywhere.
Yeah.
So if OPEC, now that they've mended the fence, decides that they don't need us that much anymore, thanks for the ride, they might decide that universal currency, whoever is the highest at the time, might be what oil is dealt in. So if oil, so now everyone is no longer required to have dollars. Now our money fades away. Gone. So think of us propped up with all of our assets are worth all this money, inflated so big, way bigger than it's supposed to be. Picture it propped up on a very flimsy little stick, and then they change oil from dollars to something else,
and they kick that stick.
Snaps.
Yep.
And right now, it's not good.
No.
Now I don't know that will happen. It could happen. I don't know. If it could have already happened, I don't know how to find that information. But it is. I know that it is something that a lot of people. And let me name somebody actually. I just watched him on YouTube. He's very famous. He's worked for the Pentagon. He's worked in. He's a banker. He's oh my goodness. Half a second. I'm gonna find it. Oh, I'm gonna find it.
That's fine. It just gives me time to pour a little bit more tea for myself.
Oh, here he is. Jim Rickards.
Oh, I've heard that name a couple times.
Yes, Jim Rickards. A lot of the stuff that I've been like kind of wondering about. I've been searching for, and I find my way to him. And a lot of the things that I've been kind of asking questions on, like he kind of talks about and answers a little bit. And like some of it is a bit like over the top. Like it is like a bit of like conspiracy theories to think that it could slide that far to go to gold and all those kind of things. But at the same time, like when you think of your grandparents and do they have gold somewhere? Probably have a little bit in the safe, some kind of jewelry, something, right? They have,
well, if we
Right.
count jewelry, probably, but
Right, and you would think
bars, no.
they've got some gold, a little bit of something, not maybe huge bars, but even like
Oh
you can buy
boy,
them by the gram right now.
boy, did they preach it though.
Right.
Put your assets in
But
precious
it's
metals.
right, right, and it's a far fetched thing to think that it could go that far. A little conspiracy theories, but if things do really smack the way they did in 2008 times 20
Yeah,
now, I mean, if paper money goes to nothing, I mean, it's being tested right now in China. They're using a digital yuan.
yeah.
There's already a digital USD currency. They're testing it here now.
Oh, the USD coin.
Yes, if they move us to digital money, you physically no longer have access to physical cash. And if they say that that currency is not good to buy gold with, you don't have anything older than that from old school system before they cut you off. And then if they decide that for whatever reason for whatever reason they just flip the switch on your money at that point.
Yeah, that's the thing
Because
that I'm scared most
make
about.
It's not real. Like I don't know. It's and again, a lot of that does sound a little conspiracy theorist, but there is some of that. There is a little bit of truth to. Like they are really testing digital currencies. So,
Well, in unprecedented times, we have to put a little bit of validity in the conspiracies, because sometimes they ring truer more than the actual reality that's going on.
yeah, but I mean, I try to put plenty of thought into it, while also being able to remain like respectful of like, okay, like that's really far, but like, I mean, you just kind of also have to see what happens, and then kind of, just like today, like I thought today, Wednesday, like Tuesday, Wednesday was going to be pretty bad, but the market rebounded a little bit. So I mean, if it keeps to rebound a bit, maybe things won't be so nutty. That would be positive. That means the price of gas and all of your cleansers and getting food, because dude, we went to Subway. If I had actually got the drink I wanted and we tipped them, it would have cost me $40. It was $31 for two 6-inch sandwiches and a half a 6-inch ham and cheese with nothing on it.
That reminds me.
$31.
I think it was Monday. No, it was Friday. I was like, I want to go to Sonic. I haven't been to Sonic in forever. So I'm plugging. I'm an introvert. I hate giving the orders. So like I'll pull up the app, I'll do my order there, and then I'll push the button. And I was looking at it. Our usual order was going to be like $60, and I'm like, and I look.
Did you misclick something? Like that's what I thought she did.
No. Well, I was doing the order in the app, and then I go to the next screens to see what the price is, because in the Sonic app they do not show you the price. They show you the calorie count, they show you all the ingredients that it's using, but they do not show you the price until you get to the very end. Normal order, which for my family is typically 6 corn dogs, an order of medium chili cheese tots. I usually get like 3 breakfast burritos, the junior ones, and then I think we were doing ice cream, so we had 4 different shakes. I wasn't worried about that, but like the corn dogs was like $4 a piece.
Whoa!
I'm like, I remember when it used to be like $1.20.
I'm saying.
And then we would go when they had like 50-cent corn dogs, and there's usually a line around the building.
Yeah, so it turns out you're not wrong. So Subway, if I had actually gotten 3 footlongs, it would have been almost $70. I did the math.
I was going through old receipts that I had in my wallet, because I have a really bad habit of cleaning out receipts in my wallet. I found a receipt for Hy-Vee, so that's one of our local grocery stores, and it was a typical grocery order. It was like $180 from like 3 years ago, and the list was like yay long,
a mile long.
Right? And then I look at an order recently, and it was about the same price, but the list was like easily half the size of that receipt.
Do you not remember getting $5 footlongs?
I used to eat the crap out of those things.
Yes. Not now. You won't. You pay $25, $30 a sandwich or two.
Inflation sucks.
It does. And see, right now the issue with that is if these banks are insolvent, and because rates are going to go up,
Yeah.
your interest rates are going to go up. They're gonna cram you, and the tighter that squeeze gets, if other things don't rebound, then it's going to cause a lot of influx, and everything's going to fall further. And if things fall further, that just once that falling effect starts, and if it gets motion, that's bad. Right now, it looks like the market is trying to rebound, so it looks like it's trying to recover.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't continue that and it continues to fall down, then that's where you should be worried, is seeing it continually fall. Like if you see it fall 5% a day, 10% a day, that's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Seeing companies fall 20, 30, 40% on all across the board would be really, really bad.
Yeah.
The one caveat is in 2008, when this all stuff really, really happened, when people had savings and everything was on the floor, just like Elon Musk buying Spotify the other day, it's an easy time to buy
Wait,
into
that was
those
real?
stocks.
That actually happened?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I thought someone was just making a meme.
I mean, I would love to confirm it. Let's double check.
So the thing that terrifies me now is I am the breadwinner in my family, and I am making the most money I've ever made.
No, he didn't buy it.
Okay, so it wasn't me.
He was hours away and apparently changed his mind, just like with SVB Bank, which he was also thinking about buying. Crazy, ain't it? Just walking around picking up companies.
Can you focus on one thing? Do it super fucking well. And then pick up something else. Like pass the torch to somebody else. Then you could pick up another pet project. Right. He picked up Twitter because it was a fucking meme. And now he's destroying it because it's not doing what he wants it to do.
Yeah. He's just got project, and then SpaceX. It's how he does so many things. I watched a video on him the other day, and he was talking about creating cars, and he's talking about creating products to sell to people. He says you have to be able to present a product that is overwhelmingly great, which for him has to include the automatic self-driving pilot and electrification. But it also has to be a good cost for the person purchasing it, like overall as well. They have to not get screwed when they purchase it, and it has to be good cost, because car makers, if you think about this, your warranty, right now I have a 7-year warranty on my Audi. And that's because I got it in the condition that I got it from the previous owner. And so I tacked on mine, and so I was able to extend it. Most people, you only have a few years of a warranty, or 70 or 100,000 miles. So at that point, a lot of cars are out of warranty. So if you think about it,
you could be kidding me. I hate this stupid app.
Don't need to pause.
No, you can keep going. I'm gonna put a technical difficulty thing above it.
Okay, so the thing is, most cars in the fleet are 80% of those are unwarranted, which is what makes it so difficult for a new car buyer or car maker to come in, because they don't have a fleet. And the reason for that is because if 80% of your fleet is unwarranted, you then have all those people coming in needing parts. They have to have this, they have to have that. They're paying for all those things. That's where all that money is coming from, is from the fleet, from that. They make the commission off of that. They make selling those packages for people to protect their cars for extended time. That's where that money comes from. It's not from selling the vehicles. Like you make a little bit from selling the vehicles, but that's where they make their money, is when you have a large fleet, and after a while, most of it's uninsured, a couple of years, then you have another flux of money coming in. So when he was talking about it, he was like, that is the thing, is to be able to sell a car where even if I make just a bit of profit on the edge of it because it works towards my revenue, I'll still be able to give something to the customer that is satisfactorily what they need, will definitely keep them safe. So if they fall asleep like one guy did and he runs into a cyclist, if the Tesla at that time had like lane protection, which you can buy on cars standard nowadays, lane keep,
Yeah.
Those come on most Nissans nowadays. If that had been there, cyclists would still be alive. So like he works a lot of important things into his thought processes with his car, but they're still very simple. But at the same like and the reason that they had so many production issues with quality for a while was because they had to figure out a new way to design those cars to put them together because taking a car apart and putting it back together 4 or 5 times to get everything done is usually the way that they do it. And then they finally put everything together and finish it and run it off the line. Now they have a whole system built where the car runs through, gets everything it needs, and kind of gets tacked on as it goes. And when it's done, it's done. But it took a while to get that going. And so there were a lot of quality problems, but they're resolving that now. And if they continue to build charging systems and somehow, I don't know why this hasn't happened yet. Why have they not built some kind of paint or card that goes over the whole car where it's solar but still under the paint?
I'm not quite
So the
sure.
car gets like I don't understand like so the car can still pull energy during the day while it's I just don't understand that. But as those things get better, no, there is not enough lithium ion, I think, to keep selling cars at the rate that cars are trying to be sold to us today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the next decade or so, everyone at some point is going to have to somehow move to some form of electrification, especially even if it's within your home, because solar panels on top of the home combined with the Tesla battery thing that puts back into the house. You don't have to use any electricity. You can put it back into the system, and then the electric company has to send you a check every month. And then you can do whatever you need to, and you're not putting a footprint down, and you can still burn whatever you need, and it's natural. Like there's a lot of things that are going to be coming, and the other issue right now is a lot of these companies that are attached to SVB Bank that do a lot of these capital venture stuff that are building tech ideas. If the government doesn't step in and really save them because of SVB Bank, that's going to cause a huge fallout with a lot of stuff. And if those companies go under, a lot of other things could ripple effect off that, and tech could slow down. So
Yeah.
There's a lot of negatives and there's a lot of different things to look at. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm digressing a bit.
I think when we look at how fast technology has progressed, I think too often we get to the point where we see how far it's progressed, but we always have to account that human error is still very much part of it. I think a lot of the SVB stuff happened is because of human error. Someone gets out of the system, everyone starts to see that the money's fluctuating, and so they go and, on a money run. They try to pull their money out because they get scared.
Well, the reason that there was a company who did that, and I forget the guy's name, but he saw that the bank was in trouble, and the reason the bank was in trouble is because they had their assets in those 10-year bonds that weren't matured. And so when he saw that bonds were taking a hit, he knew that the bank wouldn't be able to pay out people if they went to get their money, and this was a problem. So he went and withdrew all of his money, and he called every company in his portfolio and advised them to do the same. And that kind of started it, and then everyone else caught wind of it, and then it blew up.
Yeah. I think that FTX was kind of a similar situation. Mind you, theirs was hella more scummy.
I think right now they said there's $8.9 billion in customer funds missing.
Yeah.
Last I read. Just, no big deal, right? Just $9 billion just, woo!
Yeah.
I don't know. It's somewhere.
I don't know. I think we need to get to the point where companies can be too big to fail. We can't keep bailing them out. We have to regulate them.
We need to stop saying that people's assets are worth 30 times what they're actually worth because the world has grown so big and everything thinks that they're so large.
Yeah.
That's where we've come to. Like, we're in a very inflated world. Everyone and everything is so big. Music is so big. Everyone pay attention to this. This is so large. It's
Well, the only thing that I care about is that my camera doesn't disconnect again. So
I was gonna say,
here's
your
hoping.
goes away and then I get distracted. I don't know how to talk.
Yeah. Okay. So I switched to an iPhone. I have no idea where my old webcam went. And so I was like, okay, I can get the Elgato Epocam app.
Which I use.
That
It's
should work.
fantastic on the iPhone.
But like, I don't have a Mac. I have a PC, and
Which is okay. It will still work.
yeah, I don't understand the settings that's going on as to why it disconnects. And
Are you using the app on the phone or on the computer?
I'm using, well, you have to do both. You have to have the app on the phone, and then you have the camera hub on the PC.
See, I did it where I just opened Epicam on my phone. I plugged it in, linked that to my computer, set it on the stand right here, and pointed it at me. And you think it's a $10,000 DSLR? I don't ever open the thing on the computer.
All right.
I
Well,
just use the settings right there on the phone, and then I turn the screen brightness all the way down, and then I face the main camera toward me on the back, and call it a day.
okay. I might have to chat with you after everything's done to figure that out.
Whatever you need. I know the app is finicky, so whatever.
Oh, by the way, I'm wearing the new We Forge On self-care t-shirt.
Love that.
It's
Well, actually, that looks really comfortable. Actually,
Yeah,
my girlfriend just got me a Dr. Lupo hoodie. And I'm
well,
always
so
into good
this
hoodies.
this is just a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt hoodie underneath it.
See,
So-
you had me fooled there. I was all
Yeah,
into that.
I'm sorry. No, this is an
now,
old.
Now you know what to make, though.
Yes, I should. I should definitely
Now
talk to
you
them
know
and
what
say,
to
hey.
make.
But no, this is like an old church hoodie.
Okay.
I'm not part of that church anymore, but this t-shirt hoodie is still super comfortable,
Super
so
comfortable,
I wear
right.
it all the time.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, so we did the top 4 self-care tips, and then I gotta say, results may vary. Scan for weekly instructions, and QR code scans directly to our YouTube channel.
Love that.
Yeah, it's very
Love
fun.
that.
Although my
Love a good
daughter,
t-shirt.
my daughter did point out that there is a spelling error, so I gotta tweak that real quick. It's like,
Don't you love it when someone small is like, "Hey, by the way,"
yeah, she's
like 12 adults made this, and the kid's like, "Hey, by the way."
well, 2 adults made this because I made the design and
Look,
my
I'm
wife
trying to help
critiqued
you
it.
out here.
No. I okay. All the graphics, all the merch ideas, they're all from this big brain. I just ask other people for feedback, and like I talk to someone in a different Discord, and I'm showing all my ideas, and like, you could change this, you could change this, you could change this, and I'm like, thanks. That's why I come to you, because if I don't, then I just think that my shit don't stink, and then I just go about it.
We're good to go. Sell it though.
But no,
You know what though? You know what?
get this. Try to go again. I'm just going to go ahead and end camera hub if I can find the dang thing. Okay, end task. Cool. Now I am going to go. Okay, so editing Soaring from this moment is going to be cut out, but we're going to troubleshoot this as we go. Last thing I said was kind of don't have all your eggs in one basket. If you have an excess of 250K, one, I love you.
True.
You're really putting in that work. But separate your money out. Don't put it all in one account. Multiple accounts is the best thing you can do. Cosmic said, try maybe get some precious metals. Make it to where it's not just cash money.
You can buy them by the gram right now. I found a place it's in UK. It's British gold. I can buy 5-gram stacks or 10-gram stacks, and it comes out to $657, and that's about $57 over the current price you would be given if you asked for cash for that. But gold is at a premium right now, and people are selling it for almost $20 over per gram. So it's usually sold by the troy ounce, but people usually can't. That's a lot. It's like $3 to $5 So buying it by the gram, $50, $70 at a time is a lot easier to swallow, and then just put 10, 15, 20 of those away somewhere in a safe. And then if you ever need to liquidate them, you can. And if not, just hold on to them.
Yeah.
Gold is not going anywhere. It's just like if you own grave sites, those don't depreciate, nor do they appreciate. So say in 20 years you go back, you get back the same amount of money you handed them. and that's that. You know, gold. The only time gold is going to be in bad shape is when everything is doing really well financially.
What do you say about the barter system?
What do you mean?
Well,
Be more specific.
I think, well, yes, having money of some sort is important. I also see that there's a value in being able to trade service for service, service for goods, goods for service, vice versa. I think there's a use case that, because that's how they dealt with a lot of their stuff in the Great Depression, is that
Yes,
so and so had a chicken farm and he couldn't necessarily sell his eggs, but he really needed milk, so he bartered eggs for milk.
Yep.
I think, if you have a service that you can give and you need something in return, find a way to barter for it versus not always just being, cash money.
I think that you would have to really be in deep crap to go into that kind of like to fall to that point where we need to start doing that, I think, and that's really far. I don't think we're near that right now. I think things are in trouble, but I don't think we're there yet. But when it comes to goods and services being traded, I kind of think you're on a pathway there that I don't know if a lot of people have thought about, and it's that a lot of people do that today. Something like 14 million businesses in the last year, a record number of businesses were started this year in the US. And it's because people like that great, like everyone quitting their jobs, that great, like everyone quitting, that's where they all went. They started making their own goods. They started paint pouring. They started selling those paintings, filming it. They started making these items. They started filming these things. They started doing this. They started doing that, flying. They started doing all these things. They went into business for themselves and they started bartering and trading and selling their own goods in their own way.
Yeah.
Just like with this podcast. You know, you're trying to bring people in. There's an audience there, but there's a lot of substance there. Just like from watching the paint pourings and stuff like that. Like honestly, I'm interested in it. I've been doing a lot of paint pourings. I'm gonna go do some after this.
Yeah, I saw a couple yours on Twitter.
Dude, and then as the light shifts, the painting transforms, so it's never the same. Doesn't matter what light you're in, but no matter what, that I feel like that is kind of what a lot of people are trying to move to, and to do something for themselves in their own way, just like you are now. Because if they can do something they love to do that also helps other people, just like this can right now, and be successful and be self-sustaining at it,
Yeah.
hello, I feel like that has got to be the pillar of what has got to be the picture of the current American dream. There's nothing with this old picket fence in the house. I don't think it's that anymore. I think it is, but I think everyone's focus is on how to do that, not just how to use whatever they can to get to that and burn themselves out. I think that has shifted.
Yeah, a quote comes to mind. When you find something you love doing, you never work another day in your life.
Exactly. Especially if it's a product. It's like, because this can be really mentally beneficial to have conversations with stuff like this and be able to listen. And I've done this a lot on the way to work. I've listened to some of these, and there's some days where I'm just like, I'm in the mood, like I want to have those conversations. I want to listen to those things, and it's a helpful thing. It's a good thing. You know, it's something that you're making, but it's still a positive thing for people.
Yeah, I think going forward, I need to start having like a trigger warning on our more heavy podcast episodes. That way, if someone's on a commute to work and, for instance, like episode 3 of season 1, we talked about suicide. And
that can be heavy. There's a time and place for that.
Yeah, but I think if someone's going to do like a commute to work, having that trigger warning at the very beginning allows them to skip the episode and maybe come back to it later
in the day
when they're not best ready to go to work, and then they have that weighing on their heart, and that's kind of a real bummer.
Sense.
So I think,
but there's a thought process there, and that's a good thing, because then you are making sure that you're being responsible for people and their mental health as well, while still being able to present something positive in a good light somehow. And that, if you can be self-sustaining with something like that, and no matter what you make, that's awesome.
Yeah. I think with my mindset, if this podcast never makes a dime, but it helps somebody, it's still successful in my mind.
And either you know what, I'm kind of the same mindset, and do what you love. Honestly, it's going to help somebody somehow, whether you expect it to or not.
Yeah. We were recording with Cal talking about abuse, which will be coming out. It's our episode 10, and it's a super heavy episode. And I was editing it, and I was crying again, just in all the moments where you could tell I broke. And oh, man, those conversations are so hard to have, but they're so needed. I wish that my 6-year-old self, my 13-year-old self, my 18-year-old self knew that it wasn't my fault for the things that happened to me.
And you know, I feel like a lot of people, and this is all people, not just young men, this is everybody. I feel like a lot of people go through that phase where they don't know how to process being in this place sometimes. I go through it all the time. I look out at the world, I read all the current events, I see all these things, and people that have children, they go to school, like the children they interact with, the parents that those children come from, the things that they've taught, the food that they may or may not get. Just like I didn't get sometimes when I went to school and I had $1.50 negative account, I couldn't get breakfast that morning, so I had to wait till lunch, and then had to hope that the lunch lady that was nice to me was there so that I could get lunch that day.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is, it's hard to process, especially seeing just like that governor, and I forget what state it is. It's somewhere in the Midwest, and I have to look, and I don't want to spend time looking right now. But she repealed the Child Care Work Act so that young children as young as 12 can work.
Probably Republican.
Well, it's nothing to do with that. It's the fact that our generation is getting so old, and we figured out how to do so much, and these companies need workers, and there's nowhere to get them now.
Yeah.
So they have to go to someone younger. They have to start depending, because they have to fill the gap.
And they can't protect themselves.
And right now, most countries are at a low birth rate.
Yeah.
US is one of them. We're not the lowest, but we're pretty low.
Yeah, which would explain why
it's not a good time to have children. It's not.
No, because we actually now have the choice whether we want to bring children into this world or not. We see how broken it is.
And the fact that there's some states where women who have gotten abortions because it was killing them,
yeah,
were like criminally challenged for felonies. And it's like, I saw, I forget the tweet. I would have to, I don't, let me see. There was a gentleman, he posted something. It was really, really, okay. So basically what the guy said was, yikes. People are voting to take away like erectile dysfunction pills and say that men have to take this and this and this. I can't believe they're trying to regulate our bodies. And then there's a gentleman who complimented below that said, oh, so you think it's wrong to try to control people's reproductive systems? And I just thought that was funny, because like women are being penalized for not having children. And there's women who have to carry fetuses that have died inside them to term because their state won't let them have an abortion for whatever reason, and that's killed some women.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with abortion, but I don't have a uterus. Let's start there.
Yep.
2, it's not my concern.
Correct.
3, if it's to save someone's life, or because someone's creepy somebody came in and got with the family member somehow and is destroying a 6-year-old's life with pregnancy, and the judge goes, oh, well, your grades in school are bad, so maybe you should learn a lesson. You're going to ruin a 6-year-old's life because they didn't have good grades at the moment with having a child.
Yeah.
That's your thought. And see, and this is where I struggle because it's difficult here, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding stressed.
Oh no, you're fine.
It's just
These are the kind of conversations like I see. I see snippets of this through Twitter or through TikTok, and I just get so fuming mad because I'm a dad. My oldest will be 12, my youngest will be 11, and I am scared to death for my 11-year-old.
I'm scared. Like we have a 6-year-old here. He's my stepson, and like I work with him as much as I can because when he comes home and talks to me about stuff, like I let's have a conversation about it, bud, because that is or is not okay. Just like when someone took his cell phone and started screwing around with all the stuff, I said, hey, let's talk about cell phone privacy. So there's, and in small ways as best I can with as little as I can because I don't want it too much. There's little things in today's age for someone so small. Like it's crazy to have to teach a 6-year-old about phone privacy.
Yeah, both my kids have phones, and we heavily monitor the screen time. We make sure that they only get a max of 2 hours of game time. Thank God for iPhones where I can go in, I can pull up my iPad, pull up my phone, I can see what apps they were on. I can monitor all this stuff. It's fantastic. But I am scared of the world that is happening around my 11-year-old daughter and all these laws that are being passed with, anti-abortion, and then, statistics.
Some states I think Florida just banned schools from teaching kids about the reproductive system.
Fuck Florida. That's all I got to say.
Florida's it's a whole different thing. Anyway,
it should all be turned into swampland.
Sex education needs to be a thing. And I don't know why we're having problems teaching people about their bodies naturally.
Yeah.
No matter how you identify.
Abstinence.
People need to learn about the human anatomy in their basic forms.
Yes.
Because it doesn't have to be talked about and be weird, but you need to know, you need to understand. I was taught that when I was little.
Yeah.
You need to, because when you don't have an understanding, then you make the whole misidentification in any format, however you want to picture it, worse.
Yeah.
Then they don't know how to talk about anything.
Yeah.
There's no decorum being taught either.
I was very fortunate that early on, my wife and I made sure that if we were going to talk about anything with the whole reproductive system, we were going to use proper terms. We were not going to call it, the cutesy words.
Right, and that's what you should do.
Because the reason why this is, this wasn't the thought process why we did it, but this is now reigning more true than ever. If you don't teach your kids the proper terminology when, God forbid, they ever have to testify against someone that touched them inappropriately and they call it these cutesy little terminologies, those people will walk.
They have to know, and even if you have to know like the current stuff in order to because there's stuff in the world that's differentiated now that we understand.
Yeah.
And in order to understand that, you have to understand the basic stuff to go along with it to even build a basis off of. Otherwise, everything is just going to be anything and everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing to stand on.
The whole abortion thing just flabbergasts me. Like we want to regulate someone's body, but then we can't look from a tangible point of view how that might affect us. All these men.
That's because a lot of those governors and a lot of those politicians don't care about people. They're worried about their seat in the House. They're long-term politicians. A lot of these people who are making decisions against women's bodies are men. They don't have a uterus.
Men.
Why the hell are you making decisions on that to begin with? Who even asked you?
Let's go ahead and paint the picture. These are old ass men that should not even be there anymore. They have turned this service into a career. They have profited for many, many, many years.
Yes. Why do you think they voted against being able to trade stocks for themselves?
I think that is punishable. They have insider information that is illegal.
There need to be term limits, and they're setting them. The Senate The Senate
If
needs
people
them.
on Wall Street can go to jail for insider trading, so can our politicians.
And that's the problem, is that's not happening.
It should
Because they're
happen.
making all these trades, and then these companies fall through, and then you see later on, oh, they made like 387,000 before it collapsed.
Yeah.
Magically.
Or the politicians that profited on knowing that COVID was happening and was going to happen, so they
Oh, of course.
put money in
bought real
all these
fast.
companies that were going to profit from this.
Yeah, they bought in almost. They probably said, yeah, I'm buying into that because I see that coming.
And
that's where we have an issue, is when the world like that sees everyone and is able. Why do you think the huge crypto thing happened where they burned that hedge fund? It's because the world realized that when they can cut you off from being able to make way too much money for yourself and everyone starts to become millionaires. No, we can't have that. No, whoa.
Yeah,
They cut everyone off from trading.
Robinhood and Coinbase locked everything down.
When you see that happen, everybody realized, wait a minute, you guys want us to be this way.
Yeah.
They want you that way. And right now, there's a gap in people. And people aren't having kids. And they have to solve that problem. So how are you going to solve the problem of people not having children?
By forcing them to have it, or else they go to jail.
Yep.
Or they be
just
fined.
like Texas making it almost illegal.
Fuck like Texas.
We don't have to. Oh,
we're just gonna go. We're just gonna go ahead and keep. Shit. We're gonna keep a running tab. You can cuss. We're gonna keep a running tab of all the states that I hate. So we're currently at Florida and Texas.
Yeah,
we can keep going.
Go either one of those right now if you paid me.
I live in Missouri. Fuck Missouri.
If Ron DeSantis puts in his run for freaking president, dude, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I swear to God. And he, just so you guys know, he's not bleeping, but I'm bleeping me because I like to do it. Anyway,
I don't want to bleep him because I might
about Ron
break
DeSantis, that man runs the most insane. He has made it illegal to say certain gender terminologies. He has taken away the state's ability to teach about gender courses and talk about gender studies. He's trying to build like a private army of like 3.5 million people with taxpayer funds.
Oh yeah,
with taxpayer funds.
And didn't he give Disney a rebound?
He stripped them of their rights.
Well, but did he? Because
they're self-governing rights. He stripped them.
Yeah, because now he put there was something where he passed something, and now the burden is on the taxpayers.
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
It's just, they preach that they want limited government, but then they encroach on these fundamental rights.
Yeah, and that's...
For this section, I just had politics ? Because there's a lot that goes into the subject.
There is a lot.
You
can honestly go wherever you want with this because there's a lot to discuss.
Honestly, all of these Republicans talk about how there's such a big issue with drag queens, how they're grooming children, but yet daily there's cases of youth pastors, cops, politicians, all being charged or have allegations of sex trafficking.
Did you see that one of the governors who passed one of those laws actually had a picture of himself posted from earlier when he was younger, dressing and running in drag?
Yeah, I did see that. It's like, Isn't it ironic?
That's just so funny, ain't it? You're just all against it now all of a sudden, and it's terrible, and you have to right. Isn't that crazy how that works?
Yeah. There was a video I saw on TikTok, and he talked about how 93% of all child abuse cases are done by known victims, known by people that know these people, whether they're uncles, aunts, pastors, people that know these kids.
And then those kids get pregnant, and then those states go, no, you can't have an abortion. You're going to have that child, and you're going to raise it. Because that's not up at all.
I wish the camera could pick this up, but I am fuming mad. This is the kind of topics that piss me off because I just want to go off on all of these people and tell them how fucked up they are, because that's what they are. They're fucked up. One, you should
They
never
have too
do
much
that to a
money.
child. I don't care how much money you have. You deserve to be put in the ground. I said this in episode 10 with Cal, and I'll say it again till I'm blue in the face. Anyone that fucks with my kids, I will put you in the ground.
Yeah.
I don't care what
It's a
it
good
takes. Oh, no. You get less time for rape than you do with murder.
Yeah, see, if you aim for the legs enough, well, I don't know if I can say this out loud, but eventually you leak enough, time just runs out. It's
I typically try not to condone violence, but like I said, if anyone does anything like that to my children, they will wish they were dead. And I wish people out there would feel the same way with all these other kids.
Yeah, I feel like people don't, and this is not like everybody. Like, I wish a lot more people paid a lot more attention when it came to children day to day, because what you go through when you're little and when you're in school and all those teachers who are there and they may not want to be there, they're there for the paycheck. Like, I got told by my ninth grade algebra teacher, she's
Yeah.
just there for the paycheck. Like, no wonder you're teaching his ass and I'm failing your class.
Yeah.
Like, then that's causing me stress and me struggles, because then my parents see me failing and then I'm in trouble at home.
Yeah.
And then so I can't hang out with my friends. And then like it there's just so many. But honestly, on the other side of that scale, there's a lot of teachers who were really like overly helpful, who tried to pick up the slack on that and spend a lot of extra time with me. And I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember a lot of teachers by name. And I could name off several now. I mean, I don't want to, but I could name off several now. But I just wish that people who had children had more will to spend time with them on a more regular basis. Because I remember when I was little, like when I got out of school, my parents were so burned from work, like because I was so energetic and excited to see them, because I had been sitting all day in class and I have ADHD. I want to let my energy loose for a bit, but they're not in the mood. And so they get agitated with me, and so I get in trouble a lot.
Yep.
So it's, and like there's a lot of times that I went without food because my parents had just enough for me to get a single lunch every day, but I had nothing else before, and so I would try to charge my breakfast. And then so when I would go to get lunch, then I couldn't get lunch because I charged my breakfast.
Yeah.
And then hopefully the lunch lady was there who liked me that year when I was in kindergarten. She would just let me do it, and she like I would have to come back the next day with the money and tell my mom, but she like the lunch lady was really nice and would take the hit for me because she wasn't supposed to let me do that. Like there's a lot of things that happens to kids when they're in school. There's a lot of things that goes on, especially when like other kids come in that have come from different homes and different parents and different lifestyles, and they have different things and they talk about different stuff and they say things that their parents have said, and stuff they've watched, or and different people will do different things with their kids, and you may disagree or agree, in that, but either way that's going to travel.
Yeah.
And it's very harsh and it's very heavy. And having ADHD or being like overly sensitive and like to sound and light and stuff like that, like any kind of situation, or even if you're just a normal person with normal learning, that kind of stuff, like there's a lot of things that happen, especially when your people are bullying each other. There's a lot of personalities. There's a lot of things to learn how to deal with in social communication that are not just understood, like aside from just talking, like understanding sarcasm, when to apply, like there's and having to learn that at such a young age now, because people are far more advanced now than 10, 20 years ago when we were in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Like it's a much different time now.
Yeah. That's
Like,
it.
people some kids in kindergarten have iPhones. Like that's
Yeah.
you know
I know that's the social cues. That's one thing that we struggle with because my son does
It's a
have
big
autism,
thing.
and there's a lot of those cues that he does not pick up.
And I need a visual, verbal, or some. I need that. I have to have that,
Yeah.
because if you don't give me that, like it doesn't. Then I'm looking at you like I just missed what happened, and then you think it just went over my head.
Yeah. This world is a really messed up place, and I I wish I had all the answers. Best thing I could say is bully the shit out of your representatives. If you want to see
I was gonna
action,
say they got emails, and of course, I'm sure people always think, "Oh, if I send them, it's not going to matter. I'm not going to read it." I mean, if 92 million people send that in, which there's well more than that in this country,
yeah.
to somebody's email, hello,
I
that's a
mean,
pretty full inbox.
I'm
Just
not
putting it out there.
I'm not saying that you can do this, but there is programs out there where you can create a macro that will send in you a program
Automated emails. Oh yeah,
automated
you can do
emails.
that.
You can do that.
Oh
Like
yeah.
if you don't have the time to do it, program it. Guess what? Set it to where they send an email every 30 minutes. Their inbox is going to be blown up so much they have to respond to it because they want it to stop.
And even if they don't respond, at least read it.
Yeah. If we want to see
It's kind of like if you
action,
want a job, you annoy the manager enough, he's gonna talk to you.
yeah, that's how I got one of my jobs. Was I was working at another place and
Persistence pays off.
I was making like $7 an hour, and I was only part time at the time, so I needed something full time, and so I would go to this other place. It was a competitor of ours, and I would just talk to the manager and say, "Hey, I see you have this job listing. I'd like to apply for it. Here's my resume," and I came in every other day, to the point where he's like, "Okay, you're here. I have 15 minutes. Let's go do an interview real quick."
Right.
And then I got the job.
See, you can't do that a whole lot anymore.
Unfortunately,
You can, but it's not at a job that's going to pay you $65,000 a year.
well, I don't even make that a year, so
IT money.
well,
IT money.
as you can see, me no smart with computers.
I'll be honest with you, my man. I never went to college. I only have a high school degree.
Me too.
Or whatever. And
But
I learned how to use computers since when I was 6. The internet came out in 92.
I was born in '89, so
I was born in 89. And my dad had a little just box computer with a couple drives and a few things in it, nothing hooked to it. He just gave it to me to play with, to take apart. And
we lived on an Air Force base,
yeah.
and so we had computer before most of the public did. We had internet before most of the public.
That's usually
did.
how that goes. Yeah, they have like touch screens. That was around for y'all for years before it was for us.
Yeah.
So,
but like I've been around computers for a good while. I know my way around. It's just when it comes to the fickle things like webcam and all these little audio settings, that's
I can show you some
unknown
stuff,
to me.
I get bored and I like to know how things work.
Yeah.
Because I like to know how things work, then I can problem solve, and then when people have problems, I can fix them.
Yeah.
So those are the things that tickle my buttons, which is why I work in cybersecurity.
But
because when I work in cybersecurity and I problem solve those things for people, then they can do their jobs. Just like when a doctor can't do their job because they can't log into the system to see the chart, the patient's medical chart. I fix that problem. They can resolve the patient's issue right there on the spot.
Yeah. But if you ask me to homebrew a 3DS or 2DS, I can do that. Like I know I can do the good step-to-step stuff.
See, I can't do that. See, like there's everybody, and that's what a lot of people don't understand is it doesn't matter what you know how to do. If you know how to do cybersecurity stuff, like I understand computers because I just understand it for myself, and that's what you like to do, apply for it. Your knowledge is just as good as the degree. The paper is just more expensive.
Yeah.
I've had MSP jobs making 60 grand a year. I was laid off recently in January, obviously because the world is going the way that it's going. But I have a high school degree. There's like those jobs required bachelor's degrees. And I could demonstrate knowledge. And I learned how to use programs that I didn't know how to use in the first week, and then got on the phone and started working with their clients and problem solving because I already knew how to do some of the computer work. And then they expanded my knowledge.
Yeah.
You can do it. To anyone who's listening, if you've got something, stop screwing around. Get bored, overdevelop the piss out of it, and do it. Play with it. Make a phone call to a company and say, hey, I think I can do this. And then when they ask you to demonstrate it, demonstrate the shit out of it. And then when you go, I understand how to do this, but I don't understand how to do it through this program, because 2 + 2 is not the only way to get 4.
Yeah.
And when everyone starts to understand that everyone can do like an IT job or this job or that job in their own way at the same pace and still get the job done, like a lot of people will be more respected. A lot of people get paid better on a more regular basis. Like things work better for people. Take your chance. Use your knowledge. Stop being afraid. Spend your time. Burn that oil. If you're up 3 hours extra at night, freaking out about what to do and you're playing video games, quit playing video games for 3 hours and sit there and screw around with something you know how to do. Make a YouTube short. See if it gets views. If you get 2K views on something in 24 hours, maybe post 30 more. Maybe you start making some money off that, and then you start filling that gap a little bit and you stop stressing.
That's the part that I struggle with is I don't
Get
know.
bored.
I don't know what to make a short about.
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
I literally asked it. So here's a thought process for you, and I'll just give you an example of how I saw a person making money with Chat GPT. He asked Chat GPT, type me, or please give me an example of a Scottish birthday poem.
You be sure and say please and thank you. We do not want the overlords to come after us.
So you type the request in, and it generates you one, and it's not plagiarized. I then see the gentleman posted on a company called I forget what the company's name is, but he posted to this company, and he selects an image that's also not plagiarized from them. They print the card. He posted on Etsy for sale for $449. He has 24,000 purchases.
Hmm.
He didn't make anything. He didn't have to create anything. He didn't have to hire. He may be paying a company a little bit to print the card for him, but he's making $800 a week. It's just some food for thought, and I could expand on that for weeks and blow your brain apart.
Yeah.
That video just told me how to make YouTube shorts for free without using any of my own content, and I can use monetized songs, and not be and the short be monetized itself. Oh yeah, chat. If you guys are bored and you have a thought process, go with Chat GPT. Go with your idea. Play with it. Do the thing. Do it.
I will give you one caveat. Do it on Bing. I know Bing is just an absolute shit search engine, but do it on Bing because you go higher in the queue. Because sometimes there's going to be moments where like everyone's using Chat GPT, but if you're using Bing, you're going to be higher up on that queue.
Based and true, but if you're getting the information, like for instance, if you're building a website, you can ask ChatGPT, please build me a base frames HTML frame set for a website, and you could copy that and then just go in and edit the stuff. But it'll build you a skeleton. You can ask if you're trying to do something. There is a way to do it. Whether you're looking at YouTube for how to do this, or you're on ChatGPT, or you have an idea and you need a thought process to generate, ChatGPT. Or if you've got something, stop sitting around and playing video games till 3 a.m. and wasting that time. Spend a couple days a week, work on that idea for yourself. How beautiful would it be if you were at home a couple days a week doing podcasts, working for yourself, making money, and had viewers who were being able to help people and being able to present positive stuff and sustain your family and maybe even donate to charities, do tons of positive stuff, have people on. That would be that's just I'm just saying, like it's such a fantastic thing to be able to do something that you love that's helpful to people that you can take care of yourself with. And I feel like those three things combined, you really can't lose. Because you're not putting something negative into the world while you can also take care of yourself, and you can do something for somebody else maybe who's listening somewhere who's maybe struggling with a thought process, and they're just like, you know what, maybe this does make sense.
Yeah, that's kind of the point that I want to get to, is being able to do this more full time, not stressing about the day to day, being able to, schedule
People to have what they need, even if you don't have a couple 100,000 in the bank, to have what you need year to year, all those things, even if you have some wants in there with it, some vacations and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what people need. You don't have to have all this extra stuff. Like, yeah, it's great to strive and it's great to try to want and all these things. And I understand that, but if a lot more people tried to do stuff like that a little more often, there would be a lot more positivity and people would be a lot happier just even talking to someone in public they don't even know, instead of trying to look away or bypass the conversation.
Yeah, I have a list of
General happiness and mental happiness would come about with a lot more people, and I feel like that's a big issue, is in this country is mental health. It's not, especially at work, daily life, anything. Mental health is a struggle for so many people.
Well, and it's mostly just the stigma that comes with it. People think because you can't see that someone is going through something that they aren't deserving of help. Like managers will say, "What? Why do you need a mental health day? Just get over it. Just
Dude, I've seen people on Reddit post texting conversations with their managers. This kid pulled bread that they had just thrown out.
Oh, I saw that one.
And his manager said that someone saw him,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, "I'm sorry. I've told you about my inability to be able to afford food,
Because of his
and I really wanted to
medications."
take this home, but it's against company policy, so I did it after." And the guy was like, "If you do this again, I'm going to fire you."
Yeah.
And it's like, how is that going to help him?
Yeah.
He clearly can't afford to eat, and he's working.
Yeah.
And like that.
Well,
And that's exactly what my problem is with people right there. Is like, fuck you.
well, I think a comment that the guy said is like, this food was already going to waste as is. I figured by taking it home,
Exactly.
we were cutting down that food waste. And the guy is like, well, I'm the manager. I should be the one worrying about food waste. And then
That's exactly what
gave
he
the
said.
threat.
Yes, you are correct.
And
it's there are so many companies that just that's their thing. Like at Dunkin' or any of those donut companies, the employees can't take the donuts home. They're still good, but they can't. They have to throw them out because of policy.
yeah.
Like I understand it's donuts. It's not good for you, but like there are so many companies that do that. I think something like 40% of the food that we generate in intake as a country is wasted.
Yep. I was actually watching a podcast episode. Well, I was listening to it because I was driving, but they were talking about how like the current as we stand currently with our food production, we are using 130% of the resources that this planet produces to make our food, but yet we waste 40% of it,
which is crazy to me. And most of that, some people would think, oh, that's lost in shipping or this process, that process. No, it's because people get it and it's not used, or it's they mishandle it, or they just simply make it and then don't eat it, and then they don't conserve. Like we keep leftovers and we plan. Like, all right, we're gonna eat the rest of this. I'm gonna take it for lunch tomorrow. Like that's the thing. Then we come home, we make dinner again, and then maybe we don't take it for lunch tomorrow, and then we come home and eat it in the evening. But we get lunch that day. That's the one day we'll get lunch. We'll mix it up sometimes. Whatever, and then maybe we'll take that for lunch the day after. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like there is so much stuff, and even recently, like I showed my girlfriend like how much food came out of the fridge that we had made leftovers that were wasted. She was like, "Wow." I said, "I've been telling you." But just Instacart, the DoorDash,
Yeah.
because we're feeling lazy or we're tired or we don't want to cook.
Yeah.
But that adds up.
The
$2,000 or $3,000 a month or so. A couple of months later, it's like, hey, look, we just wasted a couple of grand. We could have spent $750 and been good with groceries for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we just went and did before everything gets really expensive because of current issues. So hopefully it doesn't skyrocket any further, but things are already expensive. So, get it while you can get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There are. I don't know. Go ahead.
There's just a lot to take in. So I think with all the technical difficulties and all that, I think this would be a good time to go ahead and call this episode to a close. We will definitely have Cosmic on for another time and be a little bit more, I guess, focused in our approach. Although I will say, I'm cutting out that section of my technical difficulties, switching to a USB A to Lightning cord, I have not had a single issue yet. So
glad it worked for you.
That sucks that I'm just now. I need to get a longer cord because I'm at the.
That's probably what I have to go find now is a USB A, and then I'll probably fix mine because mine had the same issue you had. So I guarantee if I tried, it's probably going to work now.
But we're going to go ahead and call this episode to a close. I super appreciate having you, Cosmic. Definitely have you on another time. Hopefully when things don't break down. So a couple points to leave everybody off with. as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, don't have all your eggs in one basket. Try and, separate it out, not have it just one place. If you can, invest in some precious metals, because when the dollar goes away, at least you'll still have something. Another point is politicians and our government sucks. So if
Read on current events.
Yes.
Smart to read. Like, even if you're on Reddit, like, not all of it necessarily factual, but if you have a few minutes here and there to just read on current events, it will definitely just keep you somewhat informed.
Yeah. If there is something going on in your state or in your local government that you want to see change, definitely research who those people are, email them, do what you got to do. Change doesn't happen by being stagnant. Change happens when we become active.
And it only takes one.
Yeah. And lastly, be present in your kid's life. Be mindful of how their interaction with the internet is, because the sooner they're on the internet, the sooner that their minds get molded, and may not be in the best way possible. So definitely monitor your kids' activity on the internet and just be present in their lives.
I wish, and that's a big one for me, because I wish if my parents had been more present in my life when I was little and realized, because I have ADHD and my mental, like, I can sit for 14 hours and do something. Like, if they had kind of coaxed me a little bit different instead of being so frustrated from being tired with me, I would probably be well further along. And I mean, that's no one's fault, but it's still, like, for me to think back on, like, I wish, just like some of these other kids have been exposed to things, and they grow up and go, oh, I want to be this, and then they go to college and they do this and do that. Like, I wasn't exposed to a lot of things because my parents were always busy, and I just wish that they had more time.
Yeah.
It's to expose your kids to things and to try things and to spend time, even if it doesn't work out, it's still a connection and a bond that you can build. And trying things is always good, because it teaches them that failure is not a bad thing. Failure just means that you learn, and this didn't work, or try it this way, or whatever. And it's, there's a lot of things to learn from that.
Yeah.
And it's, I feel like it's a big thing that a lot of kids don't get, especially at school. So getting it at home is got to be a big thing, because feeling safe at home is probably, I mean, I feel safe at home as an adult. So, I mean,
Yeah. Two acronyms come to mind. They're both the same word, but failure is not the end all be all. You can get past failure. But things to understand: fail, first attempt at learning. If you don't fail, you don't learn.
it's true.
But if you constantly refuse education, that's the part that makes you a failure. So, the most common acronym is first attempt at learning, but I added unless refusing education. If you constantly refusing education, of course you're going to keep failing. Of course you're going to be labeled as a failure because you're not learning.
Never be afraid to try something just because someone says, "Oh, that's stupid." Doesn't matter what someone says. Just like Post Malone, and when he and all these other people who everyone thought, "Oh, this guy's gross," or this and that, or whatever about anybody, they thought they'd never be famous. Now Post Malone is one of the largest artists. You don't
Yes.
let someone tell. It doesn't matter what someone tells you. It don't. If you ask somebody else about the armor color, about your armor color in Destiny, and they say, "Oh, I don't like that," doesn't mean you have to change it. It doesn't matter about their opinion. Their opinion's their opinion. It's an asshole. Everyone's got one. everyone's got one. Do what you like to do and forge on with what you like to do. Take that step for yourself.
Yep. So
I urge you.
like I said, definitely have you on another time, Cosmic. Super appreciate you being here. And like we always say, when life gets you down, stand tall, and we forge on together, never alone. Thanks.